You're listening to The Alien Observer. I'm David McElroy. This world would be so much better off if everybody just agreed with you. If everybody would just see things the way you do and make the same judgments that you make, everybody would be better off and everybody would be happier. Everything would be better. You probably wouldn't admit all of that, but I understand why you feel that way deep down. My natural inclination is to believe that I'm right about everything too. My instincts are best. I know which experts to trust. I'm smug enough to believe that I am right. At least I can admit it. But because I can admit this to myself, I can also learn that I can be wrong. I have to keep reminding myself that I can be wrong. But it's a struggle that makes me a better person, because the alternative is to go back to the way I once lived, and as most people live in this culture, believing that everybody else must somehow be wrong. We're seeing that awful pattern play itself out right now in relation to how society ought to function in the middle of the panic over this new coronavirus. The people who want to keep the economy mostly shut down, for many months in some cases, think that anybody who wants to open the economy is an idiot who hates science. They believe that anyone who questions their prescription, keeping most people locked at home indefinitely, is selfish and stupid. On the other hand, those who question the official recommendations from politicians and most doctors think that those on the other side have some hidden agenda. They don't all believe that, but a lot of them do. Lots of them believe that what's going on is all some kind of hoax in one way or another. And most of the people on that side are far more terrified of the crashing economy that's going to destroy all of us than they are of the tiny chance of dying from COVID-19. If you get past all the nasty and hateful screaming on social media, you might realize that there's a core issue which most people aren't really talking about. The real question is, who should we trust? How do we know who's worth trusting? Can we really trust the people who are being presented to us as experts? Most educated people are inclined to trust those experts, almost blindly. I'm not sure there's any recommendation that goes too far for some people. But there is also a substantial group of people who are not inclined to trust experts. Some of those people are populists, some are just cynical, and some simply think for themselves and trust some experts, but not others, using their own judgment about who's worth trusting. But most people have an unspoken belief, one which they might not even admit to themselves. Experts who agree with me should be blindly obeyed, but experts who disagree with me are idiots who are obviously being paid to lie to you. Or maybe they're mentally ill, or something. From what I see, experts know a lot more about most things than I do. Most things. But many of them draw conclusions and make recommendations that go far beyond what they are qualified to say, at least based on the actual known facts. I agree that it's dangerous to blindly trust anybody who's presented to you as an expert. But there's another danger, which the doubters sometimes won't admit, And that's simply that the collective wisdom of common people is often idiocy. I see a lot of social media posts lately that are dismissive of all experts and elites. Although I am afraid of top-down control by alleged experts, I am just as afraid of bottom-up populism. There is no special wisdom in the whims of the non-experts. What I've seen lately makes me believe that many people are romanticizing the populist whims of the average person. That's just as dangerous as blindly trusting experts. During the course of this panic over the last couple of months, the so-called experts keep changing their minds. How strange is it that we have gone from experts telling the public not to wear masks, that those masks were useless in public against this bug, to politicians now threatening to arrest us if we don't wear a mask because different experts, or maybe the same ones who've changed their minds, it's not clear, are saying that we should. And even now there's conflicting information about whether those masks are useful in public or not. And I'll be honest, I simply don't know. And you can't know for sure either. I grew up completely accepting everything that experts said. I grew up believing that experts must be right, and that everything should be entrusted to them. But eventually, I had to reconsider the beliefs because I saw the results that we've gotten from blindly trusting these alleged experts over the years. The experts are the ones who gave us the Vietnam War. They're the ones who led us to the invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan. The experts are the ones who watched black people die without treatment during the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. They brought people into a program and left them untreated so they could watch how human beings reacted as they died. These were experts. They're the ones who gave us forced sterilization of many people in the early 20th century in the name of making the human race better. They called it eugenics. They're the ones who have given us the failing fiat currency system, which is backed by nothing except hopes and prayers. They're the ones who told us that fat and salt were dietary evils, and that we should eat lots of simple carbohydrates such as sugars. And on every one of these issues, and dozens more just like them, the experts were wrong. And their wrong beliefs or wrong values led to the deaths of many people, all because good people trusted experts to lead them. But some of you see people who reject all sorts of things from experts, and you are outraged that they reject things which seem obvious to you. Many of those people reject vaccines, for instance, in spite of the fact that vaccines have eliminated, or virtually eliminated, a number of deadly diseases which used to be common. Many of them are convinced the earth is flat, and they won't listen to evidence to the contrary. Many of them preach loudly that nobody has ever been to the moon, and that the moon landings were all faked. Lots of people believe in conspiracies of various kinds, most with no solid evidence. It's easy to laugh at such people. I know because I've been there, and I agree with you about a lot of it. But who says you're right? Who says I'm right? And even if a majority believe that you are right, why do you have the right to impose your will onto those who disagree with you? Trusting experts works at times, and it's a smart strategy to one degree or another in many periods. But trusting experts gets you killed at other times. If you trust experts all the time, you'll sometimes trust decent and qualified people who you'll love, and you'll sometimes find yourself on the side of Nazis and communists and kings and all sorts of evil people, because they're the ones who are with the experts. How do you know which experts are the ones to be trusted right now? And why are you so certain that those who disagree with you are wrong, or stupid, or evil? What if your opponents turn out to be right? What gives you the right to force them to obey your experts? The two key questions are, which experts are worth listening to? And this is a judgment question with no right answer in many cases. And the other question is why anybody has the right to force others to obey the experts that he has decided to trust. And few people seem to be even asking that question. But everyone, almost everyone, is angrily certain that he or she is right. If you'll stick around after this quick break, I'll be back with more. When I launched my first podcast, I took a friend's recommendation about which hosting service to use. He told me that Anchor.fm was the only one that I ought to consider. And it turns out that he was right. I had such a great experience with the free Anchor service that I'm also using it for this second podcast too. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. And best of all, it's free. I don't know how they do it, but it's free. I record and edit my podcasts on my own MacBook, but Anchor even has tools to allow you to record straight into a web browser, or even your mobile phone if you're not ready for the challenge of doing your own recording. Anchor will handle all the distribution of your podcast too, getting it into all of the major podcast directories such as Apple, Google, and Spotify. They even have a plan by which you can run ads if you want, but you're not required to if you don't want to. Anchor has everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started today. There's one word that represents the single biggest problem in discussing any of this. And that word is the word we. You hear it all the time right now. We need to flatten the curve. We need to stay home and be safe. We need to open the economy and get back to work. We are all in this together. The problem is that we is very misleading. Every single one of us has a different situation, a different interest, and different needs. To pretend that there is a great giant we whose situations, interests, and needs match in a perfect way to ensure everything works out right is a definite, absolute way to create lack of understanding, because everyone is looking at this from his or her own point of view. I can tell you about my situation, my interests, and my needs. Yours might be very different. They probably are. But that doesn't mean that we are allowed to make decisions for one another. It means we all need to make decisions for ourselves. I can't tell you who you should trust. I can give you my opinions, but my opinions would be far more moderate than those of most people. I believe the health risk from this coronavirus is great, and I believe it makes sense to stay away from other people as much as it's reasonably possible. But I don't believe that any politician or any bureaucrat has the right to make that decision for you or for me. I got a haircut this week. That was a risk that was worth taking for me. And I didn't really care whether a politician thought so or not. You need to decide which experts to trust. You need to make the decisions about your own life based on what you hear from experts or non-experts, whoever you trust. And you need to decide which risks you're willing to take. You need to do the things with your own life that you believe are reasonable trade-offs. If you want to stay home and if you can afford to do that, then stay home. If you want to work, or if you want to patronize businesses that choose to open, then do that. But you have no business making those decisions for other people. And pushing politicians to make those decisions for everybody is no better. We overthrew kings and emperors who made decisions for everybody, supposedly for all of us to have sovereignty over our own lives. You decide for yourself what's right to do. But don't try to force your decisions on other people. The Alien Observer is written and produced by me, David McElroy. If you'd like to get in touch, send me an email at davidmcelroy@mac.com. That's DAVIDMCELROY@mac.com. Or go to anchor.fm/The Alien Observer to record a voice response. Anything you send might end up on a future episode. There's also a donation link on that page if you'd like to support the show. For more about me and what I've written in the past, including thousands of articles over the last 10 years, go to davidmcelroy.org. The Alien Observer is copyright 2020 by David McElroy. All rights are reserved on the planet Earth, but rights are still pending on the planets where the rest of the aliens live. Theme music is The Boy and the Kite by Solitude and is licensed courtesy of Soundstripe. The birds and crickets from the opening was recorded live in my own backyard. Please join me again next time for more observations about this strangely alien world that's all around us.